Has that always been up there?
Sometimes
Yeah.
the TV's off.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't hear it. All right, I'm just fired up to play another game. So we've had a little bit of time off here. It feels like forever that we've been here, right? Those extra days in there help. But with that, I'll just kind of open it up and let you guys fire away.
Hey, Steve, two things about the turnovers. Obviously, you guys emphasize it all the time,
Yeah.
but sometimes they come in streaks.
Yeah.
I wonder how you account for it, and then I'll have a second thing about it.
You know, I will say this. You know, so the fumble. I'm thinking of a couple of them. Like Leo, always. You know, if you watch Leo in practice, he's always doing. He had that a couple games ago, or they're running together now. That was a couple games ago, right? It was Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I will credit the guys on the back end for the catches that they're making. Justin Reed's last week and the one Brian Cook made back in the Cleveland game. I mean, those guys work at that all the time. So, and we always say catch the ones he throws to you because you don't get that many opportunities, right? And you'd have to help me memory-wise, but I don't think I can remember NJ, Nagy had one in the Cleveland game that we actually dropped. But I don't know that there's been many of actual drops. So the good thing is that recently the opportunities have been there and the guys have made the catches, so that part's good.
Is it one of those things that over time you keep preaching the same thing, and over time
Yeah, eventually
that'll even out? Or, I mean, has there been some magic in the
Yeah,
last
if the
month?
football gods are fair, then hopefully it does even out, you know. Because, listen, for a while there, it was real thin, right? Didn't we won a few games there where we didn't have a turnover. So it's nice to see us get them. Now, listen, we can't guarantee that's going to happen in the games going forward. We got to play good, solid defense whether we get them or not. But it's certainly, listen, we know what that stat means in terms of wins and losses. So we're going to always emphasize it.
And just that's the last thing on what that stat has meant, or with just the tangible impact you see game to game, both on
Yeah.
the defense and offense.
I mean, it's a team thing, right? You win the turnover ratio, you got a pretty good chance. I mean, your percentages go way up of winning the game. You know, that and fourth down stops, you know, big special teams plays, right? Those seem to tip the game in your favor. So the more of those we can get, the better.
Steve, regardless of who's going to play, the guys that don't play on Sunday, what's the process of trying to keep
Yeah.
them sharp ahead of the playoffs?
So the first PowerPoint that I put up on Tuesday was, do not lose your edge. Like, you know, and we went 2.5 months of off-season work. We went, whatever it's been, 5.5 months since July of all this work to get to this point. You know, why would we back off? Why would we lose our edge? I'm talking about in preparation and how the guys practice, what they might do with their bodies, physically rest, all those things. So that was an emphasis at the beginning. You know, we've also challenged our guys, look, depending on where this all goes, and we got this week 18 to figure out who the playoff team, there's a chance we play this team again. So if I'm sitting there, you know, listening to all the information about Denver's offense, I want to accumulate that to be ready for this, not only this game, but in the chance that we end up playing them again.
It seems sort of unprecedented, I mean, league-wide, even to have 24, 25, whatever it ends up, those amount of days off. Is there anything you can fall back on experience-wise?
Preseason, you know, when the guys don't play a lot. In the middle of the season at the end, maybe not. Yeah, because we played on a Wednesday, right? That was a little unique. I mean, I know I've been on teams where we've had the last game, right? But it was only a 7-day window and not this 10 or 11 days, whatever it is. So it's a little bit more extra time. But, you know, hopefully that's a benefit. You know, we'll see where that goes. But hopefully it's a benefit. Listen, I trust our guys. The guys that won't play as much, they seem fully in tune to me.
It seems like Chris obviously won't go. Do you anticipate backing off guys like Trent and certain?
I don't leave Andy. That's Andy's decision, and whatever he decides by the time we get to Sunday, you know, we'll roll with. And I think the guys feel the same way. Like they're ready to go either way. Coach, what do you want us to do, Coach? And if they got to go, they'll go, and if not, that'll be Coach's decision.
The interesting thing about this game is, in the past, like last year, we played, the Chargers weren't trying to make the playoffs. I mean, they wanted to win the game.
Good point.
But
Yeah.
the Broncos likely need to win this game. So what's that line like, giving them the best that you can give them and resting your guys? How do you kind of...
That's the head coach. I go back to Andy. I mean, he makes that decision. Listen, we're in our meetings with everybody getting ready to play against Denver's offense. All hands on deck. Again, you know, Chris may be a little bit different because of the injury he's dealing with. And all those guys, to a man, are working that way in the meetings that we've had, in these walkthroughs, and now getting ready to have another practice. That's not going to change. And it's a really good point. we're going to get their best. It's not they're not experimenting, you know, with getting ready for the future or anything. They're getting ready for a playoff run. So whoever we put out there has got to play their best.
Can you speak to what you've seen from Bo Nix through this year
Yeah,
and what he's
wow.
building?
Yeah, I'm really impressed. Listen, I didn't study him in college. I heard the name, knew about him. But we played him a few weeks back in that week 9. I thought he was really good then, and he's just even gotten better. Full command of that offense that they run. Has been really smart with the football, and he's a really good athlete. This might sound shocking, but when he tucks it and runs, I get visions of Josh Allen. Like he can go, and he's a pretty good sized guy too. He might not be as big as Josh, but so there's that whole feature, and we've got to get better at containing, controlling quarterbacks from hurting us with their feet.
Steve, for the starters who won't go on Sunday, how do you want them to stay engaged in the game?
What they've been doing, even then, and I'm sure they'll do it on Sunday, is they've been right there next to the person that might be in there for them. I think that keeps them engaged because they've got to know the game plan to help feed it or help the guys along the way. So, we got some really good guys that way. As I stand in that meeting, and I've said this to you before, when you stand in front of a meeting, you see everybody. You can see faces, you can see eyes nod, the whole thing. And I see all these guys staying fully in tune. They got their computers, and I don't type, I write, but they type, and I think they're staying in tune.
Couple more.
It's head coach season. I know in the past you've mentioned wanting potentially to have that.
Yeah.
Is that still something? I know you're preparing for this week. Is that
Yeah.
still something that you'd like in the future? Or something?
I mean, well, I'll deal with that later. Listen, yeah, the answer is yes, but right now it's all about Denver, and I hadn't even thought about that road until you just mentioned it. So I'll let all that take care of itself.
You talk about maintaining that edge. I know you might have talked about this earlier, but have you seen some of that here in the early weeks, just kind of how some of those guys are doing it after you challenge them?
Yeah, I do see them. Listen, I see them challenging each other to maintain their edge. The greatest thing about these guys, they've been around each other long enough. They can get on each other when they make a mistake or miss something. So we're out there in a walkthrough, and I hear one guy saying to the other guy, "Hey, didn't you hear him say that in the meeting?" So that's a good thing. To me, that's maintaining the edge.
Steve, just a side thought related to that. Do you, over the years, have you, even though you're doing your utmost every game during the regular season, do you sense an extra gear within this team for playoffs?
That would probably be a pretty fair statement. I mean, I think, we got vets in that room that have been down this road and know what it takes to get to where we would like to go. It takes a next level of preparation. It takes a next level of taking care of your body and getting sleep, all that, all those, we got a checklist of things you need to do to go win a championship, and I think now everybody's fully in tune to checking all those boxes every week.
And do you think that's the sort of thing that, obviously by doing it and having that success over time,
The experience of going through it, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, when you get a team that has never been through it, you're probably always coaching up what you need to do to get ready for these, and I think most of our guys in that locker room, except for the guys that are new this year, probably know what all that takes.
Thanks,
We good? All right, thank you. Yep.
Whoever ends up playing for you guys on Sunday, the guys who don't, what's the process of trying to keep them sharp over what would be a pretty extended layoff before they play again?
Yeah, they know that it's their job, number one. Number two, they have to stay prepared whichever way it goes, and they do a good job with that. It's important. I mean, this entire time as they go through this process, they know that too, if they're not playing, it's their role too to become another coach and be there. And then also, you have to be ready too. I mean, you never know how things go in the game, and if you're up and you're suited and ready to go. That's why I think, like, sometimes as you go through this process, the mental challenge and the hurdles of preparing, all week, you can't let that slip. You got to prepare and keep it the same, and I think that's very important for these guys.
That's time to throw is just way down recently. I guess how much legwork behind the scenes for you and your team did you have to pick certain things that could fit that?
We do some of that. It's always interesting when you hear some of that time stuff that goes on, because it can be just a matter of half a second that can make the world of difference. But I think big thing in general is just the fact that we feel really good. We're kind of from where we've been throughout the season. These last couple games, we've felt good with the rhythm that we've been in, whether it's passing the ball, running the football, etc. I like where we're at, and you want to be kind of peaking in that the way we are right now.
How exciting has it been that Worthy is hitting that stride while you get Brown back in the mix, and it does seem like there is some chemistry already with Mahomes and Brown.
Yeah, I love it. It's again, you've heard me relate it to Rasheed, but that's real. Xavier's done a great job of staying patient the entire season. He's been great with the players. It's been a fun process for him, and now as we continue to kind of go into these moments and these games, he's going to realize that when we get to the playoffs, it steps up even more and things get even faster. But it's been really fun to see this offense start to come together, and getting Hollywood back too certainly helps that.
A couple things about the turnovers. I mean, you guys are in kind of a historic role with not producing all of a sudden. Sorry to bring it up.
Yeah, don't be jinxing that.
Yeah. but I wonder if you could speak to, I mean, obviously it's always a point of emphasis.
Yeah.
Why has it been different these last few weeks? And one other thing about it after that.
Well, number one, there's a lot of teams that thrive off of that turnover, and it flips the field, gives them a short field on offense. And I think there's a balance. Like, Pat's been phenomenal the last several weeks of being good decision making, and his accuracy has been really, really good. So all of that comes together. The running backs, the ball carriers. You want to make sure you talk about it. You don't want to overdo it, but there's a balance to making sure that they know it. Pittsburgh last week, they're special now, and they're elite at what they do with getting the ball. We showed clips of them just punching the ball out all week long of times that they don't get the ball. And so I feel like there's some times where the players, as crazy as it sounds, when they're in the middle of the play, like real quick, it clicks in their brain, ball security. And then they think about it against a really good team like Pittsburgh that does that.
The flip side of that is just how you've benefited from what the defense has been doing.
Yeah.
How much has that changed sort of your offensive production?
It's massive. You look at turnover margin in the NFL, and if you can protect the football and get the football, you look at those teams in the history of the years here now, the teams that have the good turnover margin ratio, you'll have a chance to go far. And so when we lock in on that and focus out, when the defense does it on both ends, it can be pretty fun.
Matt, how would you describe the season that Travis Kelce had this year?
Well, I mean, I've seen a bunch of them, and I'd say this year's season has been just as good as a lot of them that I've seen. I mean, I go back to when we all were in these conversations earlier in the year and talking about, did he lose a step and he's not getting the football, and then like 3 games later, I know Rasheed got hurt, but yeah, like 16 targets one game. And the beautiful part about Trav is that he does not care about it. He wants to continue to just keep winning. He cares about these trophies. He cares about winning. He's extremely unselfish. How he takes care of his body in practice throughout the week, it's just special. You're not going to see many tight ends like him, and what he does is rare. I'd say he's having a hell of a season right now, and I think if you ask any of these guys, they're ready to just keep this thing going.
He's had some big games for you guys
Yeah.
over the years in the playoffs, as you know.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know how a game's going to go, but can you see him bringing that kind of game
Yeah.
again in the postseason?
You can, and I go back to last year, Adam, where I remember we hit at the end of the season, we had the game against the Chargers, and it was a game that Trav wasn't playing, and I remember it kind of sparking him a little bit physically, mentally, all that kind of gave him a jump. I felt like, at least I think, he came back in the playoffs, and all the guys, not just Kels, but I remember him just having just a little extra more. And it's critical when you can get to that point for some guys that are, he's been doing this a long time. He's got more reps than most people in this league. So when you can take advantage of that and get these type of games where you get a bye week, for him, it's massive, taking you into what matters the most in the playoffs.
Now, I wanted to ask you about Nico Remigio.
Yeah.
He obviously been on the field for the last few weeks with McColl's absence. Just what have you seen from him and the progress that he's made?
Extremely patient this whole year. There's been times where maybe he felt like he was going to be up. He came in training camp and had a hell of a training camp. Special teams was a massive part of it. We had these talks back then, and I think it definitely tests your patience to be able to know that when the time is right, you'll get your chance. He's done that. He's had a chance now to return some punts. He's been thrown in there a few times on offense, and he does a lot of things right. And he's still learning, but man, the kid plays so tough. He's a true professional. You've heard me use those words before about him, and I'm excited for him because you root for kids like him.
Last one, let's go Nate and Todd.
Matt, have you seen something quite similar to what Joe Tooney was able to do in a 3-game stretch in 11 days and, potentially maybe continuing to play, out of his natural position?
I don't know if I have, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of great defensive ends in this league, a lot of great pass rushers. The gauntlet that he went up against these last couple weeks, I know people talk about it, but and there's going to be plays where it's not perfect and he gets beat. That's okay. I mean, he's one of the best guards in the game to go out and play tackle. I love the fact that you're bringing the question up because I think he deserves a ton of recognition for that. And I know internally we appreciate that. And whichever way it goes moving forward, we'll see, and that's up to coach. But the other part too is like you look at these guys, and when you present something to him, he's such a selfless guy that he just wants to do what's best for the team. There's some people that might not want to do that. He doesn't care, and I think that just speaks to the culture of the environment that we have here.
Last one.
A couple of things. First, Andy said yesterday that Carson playing this week will allow Patrick to do some things he doesn't typically do in practice. What kind of things will he be doing this week as the starter?
Probably, if anything, I'm guessing coach is probably talking a little bit more mental, just being able to take a step back, almost as a coach, and see it from our perspective when you're not in the play. And then on game day too, I know in these times in the past when Pat can be on the sideline in these moments and kind of see from a coach's perspective what it's like. Sometimes it's a good little reset for you, but he continues to make sure that he's working his feet. Like yesterday, he was back in the back working his feet and trying to keep that going. And more than anything, honestly, it's the mental, just seeing different angles of it.
And what have you seen from Carson so far as you guys are getting ready for this? This is a big opportunity for him to get to go out and have the keys to the offense.
Yeah, he made a little joke yesterday in practice that this is the most he's talked, and it was like one day. It's like he's talked more in one day than he has all year. We kind of chuckled about that, but you just root. I've been following Carson, we all have, but I've been following him from the day he came in this league and not really knowing him until this year, to see how he's handled himself as a unbelievable number 2 and backup and what he did in training camp. Now he's going to get an opportunity, and you really appreciate people like him that literally this is not different for him because he's going to start. It's not any different than any week that he goes into. When you find guys like that throughout the season that are like that every week, they're out there, but they're hard to find, and especially when you're as talented as he is. So as a coach, you get pumped up, you get excited, and you want to go out there and do everything you can to help him go out and lead the team to a win.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, again, take care.
Yep.
Fire.
What's this week kind of been like working with Carson a little bit more here, getting ready for this game?
Well, to be honest, my interaction with Carson this week is not as much as it usually would be. In the previous weeks when he was running the scout team, I was, had a little bit more. I've got a lot on my plate this week with my group, so my interaction with Carson's been minimal, although I will say he was one of the first people I ran into this morning when I got here, which I thought to myself, you know what, that's pretty cool that he's going to get an opportunity this week. People wouldn't know. He's in here at 6 a.m. every day through the course of the year when he's not preparing to be the starter. But it was cool to see him this morning in that same environment and know he's going to get an opportunity this week. Happy for him.
What is it like getting guys who don't get the snaps typically during the season to get them prepared for a Week 18 game?
It's a fun challenge, to be honest. I think back, we've had some of these examples, and we'll see how this goes this week. You got to get everybody ready to play, and you're doing that each and every week. But when there's a little bit more of a likely opportunity for them, it's fun to see all of their hard work kind of come to fruition and them to get an opportunity to show where they're at and show their progression. I think about Cam Jones a year ago in a game similar to this that got a tremendous opportunity. And, you kind of see him through training camp, you see him all through the year, but you don't necessarily have a great pulse on, okay, how far has he really come? And then you get him out there on the field and you say, oh, okay. Like, this guy's made some strides here over the course of the season that are tangible, that, you can see on the field now. That's a beautiful process as a coach to see.
It's been 2 seasons now, but as you look back, what kind of impact do you feel like Drew Tranquill has had as far as an outside addition and how he kind of changed the room in his own way?
It's been fantastic. He's a very good football player. He does a great job for us on the field. He's an even better human being. Smart guy, works hard, cares about the guys around him. He's brought some levity and some energy to the room. He's got us. He's got the rookie Swayze Bozeman in charge of us picking college games every week for the guys in the room, all of our alma maters, and we got kind of a running banter going and a bracket for the playoffs now. So he's got an energy and an ability to keep things light that's refreshing over the long grind of a season.
What do you want from, we talked about reserves who get to play, but how about from your starters? What kind of responsibility do they have this week?
Well, I'd say there's a lot, those guys are, and it's a great group that I've got in that regard. They're incredibly engaged. There's also an awareness that this is a division opponent that we may see again potentially. We're obviously going to see again next year. So, there's some meet there in terms of getting to understand their program and their personnel and who they are and what they do, that regardless of how many snaps you're going to play is valuable. They've done a great job with that. And there's also, particularly specific to Nick Bolton, Drew, Leo, those guys in my room, you see the pride that they take in the group. They feel like if another guy's going to be in there, it's their responsibility to make sure they're ready to go, that they're prepared, that all of those little detail things are taken care of. Not that they haven't been doing that, but there's a little bit more heightened situation when they feel like the guy's going to maybe get a little bit more playing time.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Coach.
Can you just speak to the process of getting guys ready for, 80% of the snaps who don't usually get that?
Yeah, our guys, it doesn't matter which week it is of the season. The way we prepare, they go about their week the same each and every week. And the guys know there may be a little more snaps that they're going to have to play conditioning-wise and things like that. But mentally, they're going through the same process they go through each week, just not knowing they all could be one play away. One guy gets hurt in the middle of a game, and then somebody's got to go play the next 60 plays that it is. So our week is kind of consistent week in and week out.
As you've gotten to know him and seen him, what's been the ceiling in your mind for someone like Jaden Hicks, who that seems to really turn it on at the end of the year here?
Yeah, from the first day Jaden's got here, he's gone about it the right way. He comes in, works hard, wants to learn. He's got a great attitude. He's always smiling, happy to be in the building, loves football. And when those rookies get here, we throw a lot at them early just to see what they can handle, how they can process things, and then we know it's going to shrink and slow down as the year goes on. And I think that's kind of what people are seeing now. He's got the confidence, the reps are starting to come, and he's able to go out there and play fast.
He seems to have a knack for that, good, clean hit. I guess how nuanced is that nowadays to pull off? Yeah,
it's hard. Just people don't practice tackling a lot, especially in college. And then when you get to this level, it happens a lot, obviously, just in the game. And we practice it as much as we can. But he does have a great feel for that. And that was something we saw on tape, with him coming out of college. I'm glad we're able to see it translate to this level.
What was the coaching point on the penalty he got the other day?
Yeah, that's something we made a great play, but go celebrate with your teammates. Don't worry about doing that, in front of the opponent.
How much does it help you to have someone like Justin Reed, who appears to be a mentor to a lot of guys, including Jaden?
That helps our coaching staff tremendously. Across the board, guys like Nick Bolton, Justin Reed in our room. Trent's a younger guy but has played a lot of ball. Those guys do a great job with all of the rookies that come into our room and into our defense. And I think that is because they've been there themselves as rookies, or, Justin Reed, a new guy learning our defense, and they know everything that kind of comes with it, and they want to help those young guys, and Justin is a great person for Jaden to learn from.
Anything that jumps out to you when you go through the course of the season and tendencies might change, plays might be added? I know Steve is known for putting new stuff in weeks before a playoff game. Just what's it like for you as a coach to try to grasp that yourself before you teach everybody?
Yeah, we as coaches, I think, enjoy it a little bit too. It's a new challenge for us. The season is long, and it's something for us, a new challenge, something that we got to look forward to. And then we find a way to kind of feed it to our players the way that it's going to make sense of them. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're worried about. As long as they understand it, we feel good about it. And Coach Spags does a great job also in the off season of kind of what you were hinting at, throwing everything at the guys. That way, when he wants to pull things in the season, it's not the first time they've heard it.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.
We got.
How's DJ Humphries looked so far with his recovery from the hamstring?
Well, he's been working hard at it, and I know he's been making some progress here, so we're continuing to monitor that. But I think he's feeling as good as he could expect to feel.
Is he someone who, I know that's going to be a kind of a weird lineup perhaps with the fact you guys already have the 1 seed now, but how much do you need to see him play a whole game before you get into the playoffs?
Well, first off, I'd say DJ, being a veteran guy, you know, he's played a lot of ball, and so need to see him. I don't know if I'd go there, but we want to get all of our guys ready and healthy.
How impressed have you been with Joe and what he's been able to do, and then by extension, doesn't get mentioned a lot, but Mike stepping in at left guard?
Yeah, yeah. Joe has been incredible. First off, he's a great pro. You ask him, hey, can you step in at left tackle? And he did an admirable job doing that. You know, he's a great offensive guard, interior player, but of course he played tackle in college, and so for him to step out there and do that job, hats off to him. And then Mike coming in and filling that left guard role has done a really nice job too. I mean, he's a tough, versatile interior player that's really continued to grow here in these last couple of years, and so I'm really proud of him.
Andy, what does it mean to you to have 3 interior offensive linemen be named to the Pro Bowl?
It's a great feeling. I'm so happy for those guys, particularly Trey going to his first, or getting his first Pro Bowl nod. And so, I mean, it's a testament to how hard they work, how much they care about it, how important their craft is to them, and as well as, you know, our scouting department bringing those guys to us. I mean, those are terrific football players, but more importantly to me, I mean, they're great people, they're great pros, they're fantastic leaders in the room.
And for some of the young guys that may play this weekend, if Hunter gets some reps, if Hanson or Kingsley or Driscoll get some of those reps, what do you think it'll mean to them to go up against a Denver front like that?
Well, you know, every week we're getting ready, our guys ready, all of our guys ready to play a football game, and nothing's changed there.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
How much, if at all, did with Joe moving outside maybe change your thought process of preparing, you know, week to week?
It didn't change the thought process, but just watching the film, you got another extra level of appreciation for what he brings day to day and how he was able to operate. I mean, we already thought the world of him for what he was doing and what he'd done in his career, but then when you ask him to play a new position and you really don't skip a beat, it just a new level of appreciation.
Coach, just big picture, what has Hollywood done coming back?
Yeah, I think he started to integrate to where we kind of envisioned him this season. He's dynamic. He's a natural receiver. He's got playmaking abilities. It comes naturally to him. So just getting back into that flow, although he has all that natural ability, just doing it again and being in the live fire, I think is good for him just to get back to where he was. So you're starting to see kind of the where he left off in August, and hoping that in January and February he can just really take off.
You know, coaches always talk about how Carson has been for you guys all year long, very steady, and working hard. It's got to be a little bit different, working with him a little bit differently this week when he's going to start.
Yeah,
play a little more.
he's. I mean, it brings a smile to my face all through training camp and even the off season, as Pat takes the reps with the starters and the first team, and then Carson comes in with the second group guys during training camp, and he's throwing balls down the field, putting it right on time. I mean, he's a professional quarterback at one of the highest degrees, and so all those guys that were playing with him all through training camp just really appreciated the opportunity to go play with a starting level quarterback, even with the second team. And so we always appreciated that and enjoyed having him here because it was like having another starter out there as we were practicing. And so now he gets to go out and kind of showcase what we've all been seeing all along. So we're excited for him. And the guys that are ready to go catch passes from him are excited for him too, because he's demonstrated it to us all the way back since the spring.
Joe, how would you describe the season that Kelsey had this year?
Typical Trav. He makes huge plays for us. He comes up in the biggest moments big. He does a lot of the kind of the unseen, unwritten stuff that maybe goes without notice to a lot of the outside world, but he makes plays happen for everybody else. He teaches the young guys. He brings our culture and kind of just how we play and how we operate along for all the new guys that are new in the building. So I would say a typical Trav season, even if the stats might indicate a little bit less so. To us, it's been that typical Trav. I mean, he's as valuable as he comes for everything he brings.
Matt was in here a few minutes ago talking about that he was one of the guys who didn't play in that week 18 game last year. And he said he really thought Travis really benefited from having that week off. Number one, did you see that? And if so, how did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that maybe a little different. I saw that as a guy, he had a lot to play for personally and a lot on the line personally at stake. And for the betterment of the team, he said he didn't play for the betterment of the team. He said it would be better for me to rest for us going forward as a team. And I think that, without it even being said, that permeated through the entire locker room. Like, here's a guy who's got everything on the line in regards to this decades-long legacy, and he knows where we're trying to get to in February, and he's given that up for us. And that just goes to some of the things that are unwritten and not seen on the outside that Trav brings to this organization. And so I thought that selfless act last year was a huge part of kind of just galvanizing and getting everybody's vision and focus onto the end goal.
Couple more.
Xavier came here initially. I mean, there was this thought that he could help your deep passing. In the past couple of weeks, obviously, he's run a lot of the underneath stuff. I wonder whether you could speak to his development, his ability to just diversify his route tree late in the season.
Yeah, it speaks. I think it speaks to his intelligence and his ability to continue to grow and continue to progress week to week, not hit a rookie wall, not be satisfied with one particular niche or one type of receiver. He's been open to expanding all of his routes and then being used in different ways. And so I think it speaks to him. He's been healthy. He's come with a great attitude, trying to learn, trying to get better. And then with that, it's evolved some of those routes and some of the different ways that he's been used. So it's a credit to him. There's a lot on his plate, being used in different positions, being asked to do different things, getting out of the huddle in different situations. And it's a credit to him that we are able to put him in those different spots, because at some point in the past, maybe there's been guys that have been limited to one or a smaller niche of type routes.
Last one, Nate.
When you were talking about Travis's willingness to be obviously a great teammate, something that you can't necessarily see in the box score. You have to obviously watch on video. What's a prime example of him doing that jumps out to you, Joe, for whatever specific reason?
Well, you can see it on a number of different plays in protection or in the run game, in the run fits. He's able to diagnose before it happens some blitzes. So as an example, in the game last week when we hit the big pass to J. Watt, he's got to make a big block on a blitzing nickel. And he does that, and it looks easy for him. That's an alert. That's something that you've got to see beforehand to really be in position. So he's able to, in a pass protection situation, set the pocket to get a deep pass for J. Watt. He does that in the run game. He does that in protection. And then obviously down the field in the routes, we had a long completion to Pirine a few weeks ago, I think against the Texans, where he knew it was man-to-man coverage. The guy was on the line of scrimmage, and he picked Pirine's guy. So those are unwritten. That's just Trav knowing the defense, knowing the game, setting things up for other people. One in the pass game protection-wise, one in a route where he's not even getting the ball. And then that I'm omitting all the time where we do throw him the ball, and he's just getting to the open space. So, I mean, it's just endless, really.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.